Pennsylvania, and Pocono International Raceway. The temperature is 83 degrees. Winds are from the east at 10 miles an hour. Partly sunny right now. A 40% chance of rain later this afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Larry Newber. The big story in NASCAR racing at this point is the points battle, the battle for the Winston Cup. Last year, 202 points separated the first two at this point of the season. This year, 6 fall within that spread.
Not only 6 drivers within 200 points of the top, but among the top 10 point getters, 360 points is the difference. Truly a remarkable season going on here in NASCAR. We may be en route to the season where we have the most number of different winners and the most number of people winning over $100,000.
Several drivers are having excellent seasons. Among them, Bill Elliott, who'll be on the pole for today's race. When we were here a month ago, his season seemed to change around. He won the next race at Michigan.
He won the next race in Michigan. He qualified on the pole for that race. He's come back here to Pocono. He sits on the pole again. They even had an exhibition race to an obstacle course here yesterday, and Elliott even won that. And then there's Jeff Bodine. Jeff Bodine comes in here with a great deal of confidence. A brand new racing team in 1984, and already they have 2 victories. Bodine says, I think I can win here again today, despite the fact that I start from 20th position. But perhaps no driver points out the competitiveness of the 1984 season more than former champion Dale Earnhardt. He's not won yet, but he leads the points parade.
The third member of the broadcast team, the editor of Stock Car Racing magazine, Dick Berggren, who'll be in the pit area today. Dick carrying a little bit of extra weight on the left side today. Dick?
Well, the goal for which every team here on pit road has worked for this race at Pocono is to combine excellent fuel economy with high horsepower. This place is definitely a horsepower track. It takes a lot of muscle to pull these cars out of the turns and get them down the straightaway at the highest possible speed. But fuel mileage economy has had a major factor in determining who the winner has been here in 4 out of the last 5 races. So the problem is to try to combine horsepower and fuel economy. Generally speaking, when horsepower goes up, fuel economy goes down. You can't afford to run out of gas here, so you've really got to play it cool. And these teams are got very, very competitive trying to get everything together.
Thank you, Dick. We look forward to your reports from the pit area. Today's Like Cola 500 is brought to you by Pontiac. Test drive a new Pontiac at your Pontiac dealer, because at Pontiac, we build excitement. And by the new remote programmable VCR by RCA. And by the makers of Skoal and Copenhagen, for real tobacco pleasure without lighting up. A pinch is all it takes.
On these radios.
We'll be back with a look at the racetrack and the starting lineup for today's race in just a moment.
Is it chilled, or are we going to go for it?
We're here and ready to roll. All right.
Are we going for the in-car radio? Stand by.
The 40 cars that will take part in today's Like Cola 500 are on the track. It's a 2.5-mile racetrack, a tri-oval. Each turn is banked at different degrees. Let's take a look now at the starting lineup for today's event. On the pole from Dawsonville, Georgia, driving car number 9, Bill Elliott. In the Coors Melling Ford, he qualified at 152.184 miles an hour. Alongside in row 1 will be Neil Bonnet, car number 12, the Budweiser Kentucky Fried Chicken Chevy, 151.764. In the second row, car number 33, driven by Harry Dent from Taylorsville, North Carolina, the Rite Aid Gold Bandit Chevy. Outside row 2 in car number 11, Darrell Waltrip from Franklin, Tennessee, in the Budweiser Kentucky Fried Chicken Chevy. In row number 3, current point leader Dale Earnhardt, car number 3, Mooresville, North Carolina, in the Wrangler Jeans Chevy. Outside of row number 3 in car number 44 will be Terry Labonte from Corpus Christi, Texas, in the Piedmont Airlines Chevy. In row number 4, driving car number 98 from Upland, California, Joe Ruttman in the Levi Garrett Chevy, qualifying at 151.022. Outside of row 4, Ron Bouchard in car number 47. Ron drives the Race Hill Farms Buick. In row number 5, The guy who won here last month, Hale Yarborough, car 28 from Timmonsville, South Carolina, in the Hardy Chevy. Alongside in row number 5, car number 22 from Hueytown, Alabama, Bobby Allison in the Miller High Life Tigard Buick. Row number 6, car number 55, Benny Parsons from Ellerby, North Carolina in the Copenhagen Chevrolet. Alongside in row number 6, car number 88, the driver from St. Louis, Missouri, Rusty Wallace. It's the Gatorade Spectrum Furniture Pontiac. Row number 7, the Petty. Inside, car 7, Kyle Petty from Randall, North Carolina, the 7-up Ford. And alongside his father, recently winning his 200th feature, 43, Richard Petty from Randall, North Carolina, the STP Pontiac. Row number 8, car 66, Phil Parsons from Denver, North Carolina, in the Eckerd Gold Bandit Chevy. Outside of row number 8, car number 51, driven by Greg Sachs from Mattituck, New York, in the 8 Sachs & Sons Farm Chevy. In row number 9, Tommy Ellis and Tim Richmond. In the 10th row, Dave Marcus and Jeff Bodine. In row number 11, Ricky Rudd and Dick Brooks. 12th row, Trevor Boys and Bobby Hillen. In the 13th row, Doug Hebron and Connie Saylor. Row 14 consists of Jerry Bowman and Bobby Gerhardt Jr. 15th row, Buddy Arrington and Clark Dwyer. Row 16, Ronnie Thomas and Bobby Waywack. 17th row, Ken Reagan and James Ingalls. 18th row, Tommy Gale and Jimmy Means. Row number 19, J.D. McDuffie and Charles Polillo. And in the 20th row, Jim Southard and Gene Coyle.
Well, more often than not, this race here at Pocono, or any race here at Pocono, seems to come down to fuel mileage. How economic can you go fast here at Pocono? Will it be a factor again today? You know, when you watch this race today, it's not always the guys who are running first and second who may be in control of the race. It could be the guy in third like the last time when we were here about a month ago.
The field is coming off the turn. And it looks like that we'll be going at least one more time around the 2.5 miles. No, at the last second, the pace car tied toward the pit area. The field begins to accelerate. The green flag is out, and the light field 3 abreast as they enter turn number 1 from this has taken the lead, but Bill Elliott is battling alongside as they go through turn number 1. They're now onto the 3,055-foot straightaway we will refer to as the Long Pond straightaway, and as they come down, it's Bill Elliott running in second position behind Harry Gant. Running in third position is Neil Bonnet. They go into turn number 2. Turn number 2 is banked at 8 degrees. The radius is 750 feet. It's the most difficult turn, perhaps, on the entire course because there are severe bumps to the inside of the racetrack. Now they're on the 1,780-foot straightaway called the North Straightaway, headed for turn number 3, which is banked at 6 degrees and is 800 feet in radius. Off of turn number 4, Harry Gant. This straightaway is 3,740 feet in length, and it is extremely wide, and so we're going to see 4 and 5 abreast racing as they come down this long running straightaway. Still, Harry Gant is leading lap number 2 as Bill Elliott continues to run in second.
Well, Ron Bouchard, you can see he's the number 4 car in line there, right about in the middle of your screen as they go down the Long Pond backstretch. Bouchard started in 8th position. He now runs 4th. There's leader Harry Gant. He got a great jump with the green flag. The pace car brings the field down a little more slowly than we're accustomed to seeing, and it was almost like a Le Mans start from stop. But Harry Gant out-jumped Bill Elliott. Elliott has been the fastest man here all week. Everybody felt as though that if Elliott finished, he would be the man to beat.
Pace car headed to take a sharp right turn to get into the pit area. It looked like they were going to go around another time, but at the last second, the pace car pulled off the track, and the field accelerated to a start. Here's the completion of lap number 2. It is just Harry Gant, followed by Bill Elliott. Third is Darrell Waltrip. Fourth is Ron Bouchard, is running in 5th position. Terry Labonte, 6th is Joe Rudman.
And the guy who slipped back a little bit was the outside pole setter, Neil Bonnet. Neil runs about 7th right now. Now, there's good reason for that. Neil was involved in a collision with a deer on the racetrack late yesterday in practice. And they had to literally rebuild the training of the car last night. They had to air freight a special radiator because they did not have a replacement here for that. And down south, that car was just put together 3 hours before this race. So perhaps the setup that they qualified so well with is gone.
Here's the battle for third position. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Bouchard, followed by Joe Rutman. Rutman will be looking for the opportunity to pass Bouchard as they come off of turn number 3 and on to the main straightaway.
Tight racing there, going down the north side. You saw Earnhardt just way up by the fence, that yellow nose car. Well, that's the yellow one right there is Bouchard, but the second yellow hooded car in the line is Earnhardt getting a little bit out of shape as he came out of the third corner that time around. There's Darrell Waltrip leading at least one of the early parades. That's better than 150 miles per hour around the 2.5 miles of Pocono.
Well, this racetrack is not as fast as some of the other super speedways on the circuit. Speeds here around 152 miles an hour as far as qualifying are concerned. However, it always has led to great competitive racing. For instance, a year ago in this event, there were 41 lead changes. So far today, we've only had one leader and some smoke beginning to be seen from the Darrell Waltrip car as he came off of turn number 2 onto the north straightaway. We'll continue to watch that situation, but it's very evident now smoke is coming from Waltrip's car.
Oh, it's possible with the bump. No, that's not body rub. That is significant smoke. Waltrip may be slowing. No, not this time around. You know that he senses it. He feels it. He'll look down at the gauges, trying to assess what's going on. Now, the people behind him, they have to start making some value judgments. Is that engine ready to go away? Do you want to move backwards from Darrell Waltrip just a little bit and give him some room and see if something happens? Lots of decisions have to be made as smoke begins to pour from the exhaust header coming out the left side underneath the driver's door.
As Waltrip continues to negotiate the 2.5 miles, the smoke becomes more evident. Right behind him is Terry Labonte, and we'll watch now to see if the NASCAR officials decide to black flag Waltrip, indicating that he is a hazard to the other drivers out there. If they determine that
Bouchard out of shape.
They determine that oil or some other liquid is coming from that car, they definitely will black flag him. Now you see Waltrip backing off the accelerator and slowing significantly.
Boy, a tense few moments there. Darrell, I think, was trying to get out of the way, Bob. I think he's planning on coming in, but the traffic was so close behind him, they weren't sure what he was going to do. They went on both sides. No, Waltrip stays out.
Darrell Waltrip has been given the black flag, so he'll have to come in for a consultation with the NASCAR officials. Well, here's the situation. Last lap out of turn number 2, smoke pouring from the Darrell Waltrip car.
Darrell obviously slows. Labonte goes high. Ronnie Bouchard tried to go underneath, but he got on the bumpy part of the racetrack on the low side of 2. Also, not much banking there. He got out of shape. There's Cale Yarborough taking advantage of that situation like any good race driver would do. Cale picked up a bunch of ground, and there's Waltrip slowing this. Greg Sachs, who qualified very well here this weekend, by the way, goes by on the high side.
Darrell Waltrip in second position in the point standing, 2,482 points. He finished second in the 1983 Like Cola 500 here at Pocono. He is slowing and coming into the pits, however. On the racetrack, meanwhile, as we continue to watch up front, it is still Harry Gant and Bill Elliott, and then quite a bit of racetrack before we get back to the third place car, driven by Cale Yarborough, and fourth place, Ron Bouchard. Waltrip comes into the pit area. Let's go down to Dick Berggren.
Coming from Darrell Waltrip's car as he comes in. The crowd lets out a loud yell. So far, the crew has just gone to the process of getting lots and lots of drag. Junior Johnson now into the engine compartment. The whole crew, there's a fire. There's a fire under the engine. Fire in Waltrip's car. No burning down by the wheel. He sure does. Junior Johnson right on top of things. Fire seems to be pretty well out now. There's a man standing here with a fire extinguisher. He is not using it on the car yet. Oil very often will do that. It will flame up momentarily. Obviously, there's a serious oil leak coming short. The car is still doing this situation. It looks to me as if they are now changing the rocker cover. Probably either a cracked rocker cover or a rocker cover gasket. This is something they can do, but they're almost certainly going to lose laps in the process. The engine has been shut off. Waltrip now sitting in the car, very disgusted with that thing. He is not happy at all.
Well, Dick Berggren, is this going to be a couple of laps or 10 or 15 laps that Darrell will have to be in for this mechanical problem?
Yeah, he's going to be here for a while. They've got another valve cover they're ready to put on the car, Bob. There's 4 holes that they have to take out of the cylinder head in order to replace valve covers. There's also another cover that goes over the top of the exhaust system. Jeff Hammond in there now. Junior in here again now. We're all trying to find out what the exact source of the leak of oil is. Lots and lots of smoke everywhere. The good news, Darrell has turned it off again.
Darrell Darrell Waltrip had won 3 times this year on the Winston Cup Trail at Bristol, at Darlington, and at Nashville. But it looks like his chances of winning here are over. We have completed 7 laps at Pocono International Raceway in the Like Cola 500. Up front at this point, Harry Gant at number 33 and Bill Elliott at number 9 as work continues on the Darrell Waltrip car. We'll be right back. Would one of you gentlemen or lady get me a drink of water, please? Give me a drink of water.
Make it 2. We'll really go big time.
Can you get it? I'll get it. Hey. Thank you. Under yellow, the top runners have come in for their first pit stop. The reason for the yellow, an accident over in the north straightaway involving Ronnie Thomas in car number 41. The 29-year-old Christiansburg, Virginia driver. That is the area of the racetrack in which a lot of oil was put down because of the Darrell Waltrip incident with his engine. However, we cannot state specifically if that was contributed to the accident involving Ronnie Thomas. He hit the wall rather hard, the outside wall rather hard. His car is now stalled between turns 2 and 3. Well, let's take a look at this 2.5-mile paved trioval a little bit more in detail. It's 60 to 100 feet wide. The front stretch is 3,740 feet long. The backstretch, or the long pond straight, is 3,055 feet long, and the short stretch, or north straight, is 1,780 feet in length. The turns, they're distinctive. Turn 1 is 14 degrees of banking, 675-foot radius. Turn 2 banked at 8 degrees with a 750-foot radius. And the third turn is 6 degrees in banking with an 800-foot radius. Darrell Waltrip's car has been pushed back to the garage area. Tough luck for the Franklin, Tennessee driver. Well, our good friend Benny Parsons, who has helped us on several of our races during the 1984 season, took us on a lap around Pocono.
In Darlington, South Carolina, a couple of months ago, we talked about a racetrack too tough to tame, a one-groove racetrack. Now we're at Pocono, a track very unique on the Winston Cup circuit. It is a absolute triangle. It has 3 turns, or 6 if that's what you want to call it. And they're all individual, they're all different, and have to be attacked different, and the car has to be set up differently. And that's the problem at Pocono is it's a give and take situation. You give something at one turn to gain the next turn. It's impossible set for all 3. And I'm going to show you just how tough this is. We're going to take a ride around the racetrack, and we're going to show you 3 unique different corners. Let's go. Straightaway, and they really have done us a good deed since we were here last summer. They repaved the front straightaway. It was extremely bumpy. It really shook you for 500 miles. Now they've repaved it extremely smooth. And also, I might add, one of the longest straightaways in racing. It seems like when you come off turn 6 or turn 3, you can't hardly see the other end of the racetrack, of the straightaway. Now we're almost at turn 1. Here we back off the throttle and hit the brakes real hard and drive down into the turn. Now this yellow and white line separates the apron from the racetrack, but to be in the groove, we want to go below the yellow.
The goal is about 100 miles on a load of fuel.
It looks like we're on the apron, but for a stock car, this is where you need to race. A few bumps here, but they really don't bother anything. Now the car will start coming out a bit as we accelerate off the second turn. Bringing the car back up against the outside retaining wall and down the back straightaway. This is a very long straightaway, but it's shorter than the front straightaway because of the unique construction of the racetrack. Now they have signs that tell you you're approaching the turn, and a lot of drivers use these signs to know where to back off. Most of the stock car guys are using this number 1 to back off. You back off, hit the brakes here, and bring the car down right on the bottom of the racetrack. This is a tunnel turn, and very, very bumpy right here. But you back on the throttle and accelerate it off, the racetrack becomes smooth again. Short straightaway before the last turn. Turn 3 or 5 and 6. And a very, very difficult corner. Very flat, extremely hard to get a car set up. Back off the throttle here, hit the brakes, and just take the car directly to the bottom of the racetrack, right against the grass. Now you're back on the throttle all the way and keeping the car right against the grass as you accelerate off this corner. Now here you start letting the car again go back out against the outside retaining wall to take so that you don't line the car up or kill horsepower as you come off. Out against the outside retaining wall and down the front straightaway.
Our condolences to the bug on the left side of the lens there that met its death during the filming of that particular feature. Well, Darrell Waltrip is back on the racetrack. The engine problems weren't too serious, and the crew was able to make the corrections, we hope, and Darrell Waltrip is back out in competition as Junior Johnson watches the field come down the main straightaway. Now, the leader at this point is Doug Hebron. Second position is Trevor Boys, and those two drivers have not pitted. Bobby Allison is running third. He has pitted, and Dave Marcus is fourth right now. He also has pitted. We have completed 12 laps of 200. That will make up the Like Cola 500 from Pocono. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Bob Jenkins up in the ESPN booth. We're in a commercial right now. Can you read me? Cale Yarborough, this is Bob Jenkins, ESPN. We're in a commercial right now. Can you read me? No luck. Cale's got
Benny, this is Larry Newber up in the ESPN booth. We're in the middle of a commercial right now, Benny, but can you hear us?
10-4, Larry, loud and clear.
All right.
Hey, if we got time when we come back out of this break, can we talk to you?
Sure.
Okay, you stand by. We're probably at least a minute or so away. We'll keep in touch here.
Yelling not to pass.
Are we going to go for it, do you think, Terry? Where was Benny running in that pack before everybody took it? Will we use Benny, do you think? Benny, we will come to you. It'll be about 30 seconds.
First time as leader of a Grand National race, Doug Hebron right now, the first car behind the pace car. Boyd is second, Bobby Allison third, Dave Marcus fourth, and Bobby Hillen Jr. is fifth. 13 laps completed. We are yellow because of an accident at the North Straightaway involving car number 41, driven by Ronnie Thomas.
Now, Benny Parsons was behind all of those cars that were mixing it up behind Darrell Waltrip. Benny, we have a radio hookup with you today. Can you read us?
10-4, Larry. I hear you loud and clear.
Benny, you were running behind that group of cars in which Darrell was engaged with when he had his problems. Did he drop some oil on the racetrack there, could you tell?
I don't think so, Larry. Look, I think with a great deal of smoke, very little damage.
Now, this racetrack is very tricky coming out of number 2 corner. We saw Ronnie Bouchard get a little bit out of shape when Darrell slowed. Where were you when that was happening?
I was back there someplace. As far back as I am right now, Larry, I need binoculars to see the front.
Well, Benny, everybody pitted during this yellow. Did you make some changes? You think you're going to be able to go quicker?
Yes, we did, Larry. The chassis, the selection that I chose to start this race was not exactly right. It was car was pushing. In other words, I couldn't get the car to turn just right in the turn. So we did adjust on this pit stop and make the car just a little bit looser. In other words, trying to get the back end to come around a little bit in the turn.
Well, Benny, we know you have to compromise here at this racetrack. Have you set up for one particular turn?
Well, right now, we're trying to get through the first corner, the high-speed corner, and we're going to work on that and let the other corners basically take care of themselves and see how that works. If it don't work too well, then we'll have to start doing something else.
Benny, both of us are just about ready to get back to our respective jobs, so we'll check in with you later, okay?
Benny Parsons from Ellerbe, North Carolina. 13 laps completed, still under yellow as the track crews are still out there in the North Straightaway with the oil dry, taking care of the problem created by the crash involving Ronnie Thomas. We'll be right back at Pocono. Examination of the field, 40 starters, average speed 146.889, the fastest Elliott at 152.1, the slowest Gene Coyle at 133.484. The oldest driver in the race is Jim Southard at 50, and the youngest is Bobby Hillen Jr., age 20. As far as the manufacturers in the race, 20 Chevrolets, 8 Pontiacs, 6 Fords, 5 Buicks, and Buddy Arrington with the lone Dodge in this race. Should be going green here in just a second as the field is back on the North Straightaway, and they're winding up 2 abreast for the restart. We have 38 cars on the lead lap, and there is Darrell Waltrip back in the race.
Well, Darrell is one of only 2 cars that has been lapped in the early stages of this race. He's been a number number of laps in the pit area, actually the garage area, so he has the privilege of moving up alongside. He's classified, believe it or not, as a slower car at this point. He has the privilege of moving up alongside the race leader, Doug Hebron, for the start of this race. Waltrip's going to attempt to get one of those 5 laps he's already lost back on this restart.
We go back to green on lap number 15. Remember now, Doug Hebron in that yellow car did not pit, and also Trevor Boyce in the red car down on the inside of the track did not pit. The others have. Bobby Allison is pursuing that trio up front. Darrell Waltrip leading the way. He's several laps down. Then Hebron, then Boyce, and then Bobby Allison, followed by Dave Marcus on Long Pond straightaway.
Also remember that Harry Gann and Bill Elliott had really streaked away from the field during the first 7 or 8 green flag laps. They had opened up about 300 or 400 yards between themselves and the rest of the field. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they can hook up and take off again. Hebron keeping right up with Waltrip. Keep in mind now, Hebron having not pitted, his car is significantly lighter than the other, and he's helping a little bit on miles per hour in the first lap here.
Hebron's a former modified and super modified driver in the upstate New York area, Oswego International Speedway, is where he gained most of his experience. Down the front stretch, you can see them moving 3, 4, and even 5 abreast, and sometimes down the straightaway. Harry Gann moves to the inside, and that number 33 Gold Bandit. Walter still leading the pack here, coming down. Bobby Allison is right up on the back bumper of Doug Hebron as they go once again down the straightaway that's 3,055 feet in length.
Bob Hebron also had a pretty spectacular backfire there as he went through and came out of turn number 1. I'm not at all sure if that was particularly routine, but I'll tell you, Doug has given it a ride. Now, he did this a couple weeks ago. He pulled out on the track and was a lap or 2 down and hooked right up with the leaders and stayed with them for quite a number of laps. So perhaps this program for this young 20-year-old driver who graduated in the super modified ranks out of Oswego, maybe the program is beginning to come together. But he will have to pit long before all the other top contenders because they came out onto this green flag with a brand new supply of fuel. And there is Harry Gann. Harry's back up front and going for the lead.
3 abreast down the front chute. Gann to the inside. Allison is the meat in the sandwich with Doug Hebron on the outside. Now they go into turn number 1 and hit the brakes really hard, going downhill into the turn. And Harry Gann has gone into the lead. Dale Earnhardt now in second and Bobby Allison third.
Well, drafting is not nearly the factor on this racetrack as it is the other super speedways. It is classified as a super speedway because of the plate. Again, 2.5 miles. The drivers will all tell you it's a delicate balance between horsepower and handling, probably with a little bit of emphasis on handling here at this racetrack. 3 distinctively different corners. You can't go through every one of them as well as you'd like to. You have to set up with a compromise or really concentrate, as Benny Parsons told you, on one or the other. If you're going to pick one, probably it's going to be the corner at the end of the longest straightaway on this track, which is turn number 1. It's got the most banking, and if you go well there, you really pick up a lot of ground.
This will complete 18 laps. Larry, without doubt, here in the very early going of this race, Harry Gann has shown as the dominant car. Now, he qualified second fastest, but he has definitely shown that that car is just dominating today. He was out front before we had the yellow, and now he has moved back up to the front and is beginning to pull away from Dale Earnhardt. Harry Gann is 44 years of age. Drives the Gold Chevy, blue team on the car in Travis Carter, and this year his best finish was a second at Talladega and at Daytona, as Doug Hebron, who was leading just a few minutes ago, begins to slow.
Probably mentioned we saw that unusual backfire, that is to say a backfire at an unusual time on the racetrack, and it was pretty bright. There was a big piece of flame that came out of it, so perhaps there's something that has gone amiss underneath the hood of that bright red, yellow number 01. Family colors, by the way. They have run the yellow color for quite a number of years, usually trimmed with orange or dark brown or red, and they have come to NASCAR with their family colors.
Hebron can tell the grandchildren that he led the Pocono Like Cola 500 in 1984. May not win it, but at least he led. Back up front we go. Harry Gann and Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt with the car way down on the front of the racetrack, left side even off the racetrack. But as Benny Parsons explained to us, that's the groove the stock cars use on this 2.5 mile drive over.
Well, you can afford to put about 3/4 in the grass, but Dale is coming a little close there. But I'll tell you, Earnhardt is the guy that takes the most up with Harry Gant. Earnhardt is the guy that we have seen pull a race car in more predicament travel than anybody else in the past 4 or 5 seasons. He has tremendous reflexes, a great deal of confidence. And I'll tell you, if Dale Earnhardt can't save him, nobody can.
Harry Gant finished second here in the earlier race at Pocono. And here are Joe Rutman and Bobby Allison hooked up in a draft as they come down the main straightaway. The back bumper of that number 98 car driven by Joe Rutman.
Look at Allison. Tucked in there behind Joe Rutman. A lot of talk about fuel economy. A lot of accusations about various teams cheating. Bobby Allison has been able to get more fuel mileage and fuel economy, or at least perhaps the most, an awful lot of fuel economy out of that race car the past couple of years. What you just saw coming down the front stretch was a little bit of saving of fuel. That is a factor. Drafting, even though it's a big factor on this racetrack, as you said a couple of minutes ago, this last person stuck in behind somebody. That is one of those many contributing factors to fuel economy. So you just never know if these people have something that is a major secret, or if it is just a large number of little individual combinations that has a, for instance, every chance that Bobby gets to save just a little drop of fuel by drafting.
Bobby Allison is in 6th place in the point standing. He's for the defending Winston Cup champion. So far this year, he has won. He has won at Rockingham and at the Bobby Allison from Louisville, Alabama. Ron Bouchard at number 47 now makes the move. Looks to the inside and trying to find an opportunity to pass. Bobby Allison as they go down the long on straightaway once again.
And it's Neil Bonnet right behind Bouchard. The Bonnet's just out of the picture for Bouchard to get his 47 Allison. It looks like Neil Bonnet might be running into a little better than he was earlier. There are the 3 of them again. The Huey Downs gang, Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnet ganging up on the Yankee from Massachusetts, Bouchard. But Bouchard says, hey, guess what, boys? I got some left here. I'm going to take you as we come out of turn number 2. Look for turn number 3 out of the North Chute. Relatively flat part of the racetrack right here. There's Lamonte, the Texan, creeping right up behind the Alabamian.
Pittsburgh, Massachusetts driver Ron Bouchard also is working very well here in the early stages on this race. Going into this car, but believe me, it's running well today.
Ron Bouchard, the 1981 Rookie of the Year in Grand National Stock Car Racing, and somebody having a problem out in turn number 2, and it's number 15, Ricky Rudd, the Bloodborne machine. Heavy smoke coming from the tail of that car, and I'll tell you, this one looks terminal.
And the yellow is out. The yellow is out. Ricky Rudd smoking very heavily in the north straightaway and moving to the inside of the racetrack. Well, as Larry mentioned, there are a lot of drivers who are charging and accusing other drivers of getting more gas mileage than they should and cheating the rules. Nobody more outspoken than this guy from Chesapeake, Virginia, Ricky Rudd.
Ricky, why are some of these cars getting such good fuel mileage?
Well, Dick, I think NASCAR allows them to run 22 gallons, but it seems like there are a few cars out there that carry about 10 gallons more than the rest of them. It doesn't seem like they've been able to catch those cars just yet, but it's there, and I would like to be there present after the race inspection, maybe give them a hand signing that extra thing.
Where would you look?
Well, I've got a pretty good idea. It's not so much where the tanks are hidden. These guys are very good on bending the rules for advantage, and these guys are going to continue to do this. Instead of one guy having, say, an extra gas tank, and if he's not getting caught with it, then you're going to find 2 or 3 other teams that are finally doing it. Until somebody catches the first job, then that comes to an end. They find something else to bend the rules with. I don't really think there's nothing wrong with it if you can get by with it and use it to your advantage. Now, if you get caught with it, you know, it's like opening a bad can of worms. Somebody's going to get a scapegoat and look awfully bad. But believe me, there are some extra gas tanks in these cars, and I just like to see everybody running the same gas tank as everyone else and have the race won on driver ability or teamwork rather than some of the heating items in the car.
Would you want to name some cars that you think have the extra gas tank?
Well, I don't think you have to look too hard. I think you just sit out there and watch during the pit stop. And if you see the guy, you might see one car stretching out one lap. It's possible to that. So if you see that car that's run an extra 10 laps, believe me, he's got an extra tank. And you can tell all you know about carburation, fuel mileage, jetty, the guy goes on and on two laps farther than the rest of the deal. I think that's very good.
How many gallons in your car, Ricky?
We hold 22 gallons. I think that's the problem. We couldn't leave it. We had to have enough gallons. I think an extra 10. But maybe they'll get it sorted out. We'll wait and see if it's late.
Quite an accusation there from Ricky, though. Well, it certainly is a point of view, Bob, and I think there are a very small number of people who really know the honest truth. It's difficult to assess from where we stand, as Ricky pointed out in his reaction to Dick Berger's question. Certainly, there are a lot of things that you can do. It starts with an effective fuel pump system and all the way to the addition of spark plugs. But yeah, I suppose it's possible that something is going on in the category of low business.
Let's talk to Ricky once again, Dick. Ricky, what happened?
Well, it was a very short day for us. Something broke in the motor. I think the bearings went out in the bottom end of the engine, causing the whole motor just to disintegrate. And I'm sure it made quite a mess over there on the backstretch.
So your day is over.
Well, it was a short day for us, and I guess we'll look forward to the next week at Talladega.
Ricky Rudd is finished.
The yellow is out, and the track crews are out on the racetrack, putting down the oil dry, and most of the leaders have made another pit stop. We'll return to Long Pond, Pennsylvania, Pocono International Raceway in a moment. This is Bob Jenkins and ESPN. We're in a commercial break. Can you read me? Bob Jenkins to Cale Yarborough. Can you hear me, Cale? Cale, this is Bob Jenkins, ESPN. Can you read me?
Benny? All right.
Here in the infield at Pocono International Raceway as they watch the Like Cola 500. Well, the driving force that brings you more auto racing than any other television network, ESPN, will present the British Grand Prix this Wednesday, August the 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Niki Lauda, former world champion, the winner of that race. You will see all the action in it Wednesday, August the 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Derek Warwick finished second in that event, followed by Ayrton Senna and Elio De Angelis.
Yeah, and of course, Lauda having a great year along with his teammate Alain Prost. They have won about two-thirds of all the Formula One races conducted this year, and his teammate Alain, who we did not see in the top 5 in that rundown, apparently not picking up any big points today.
All right, we've completed 26 laps. We have had 5 leaders and 6 lead changes. We're in our second caution period, brought about by the blown engine on Ricky Rudd's car and the soaking up of the oil that is going on right now. The first jello was brought about on lap 8 by a crash involving Ronnie Thomas. One of the other drivers that is out of the competition is the man from upstate New York, Doug Hebron. He's still in his car. Maybe he isn't out of the race. What about it, Dick?
Doug, in the garage area, what is wrong with your car, and can you get back in?
Well, we're not getting any sparks to the distributor there, and so we're trying to figure out if it's a coil or the distributor or whatnot, and hopefully we're going to be back out there today.
What were your thoughts when you took over the lead in this first Grand National that you've ever led?
It was different. I didn't know what to do out there. I was talking to him on the radio, wondering if I should go into the pits, but I stayed out there and, and tried to hold him off as long as I could, and I was really excited to lead the first Grand National race, my first Grand National race, and I hope that's a good sign.
Looking at the tachometer on your dashboard, Doug, it says 8,800 RPM. That's a lot more revs than people ordinarily run. If you get back out, will this motor stay together with this kind of gear in it?
Yeah, I missed a shift there at the beginning of the race. That's why it's up there. It's normally running about 82 and 84, so I got to take it easy at the end of the long front straightaway, but if I take it easy, the motor will last no problem.
Well, we've got crew members under the dash. We've got crew members in the car with Doug. They're going to try to get him back out on the speedway. This is his home track.
We'll see if he can get back out there as the work continues on the racetrack. It is Dale Earnhardt, first car behind the pace car.
They call Doug Hebron the young one. As a teenager, he was out driving people who were age 30 to 40 years of age.
And there is Harry Gant at number 33, who's looked very strong here in the early going. Well, of course, there are differences of opinion as far as this alleged cheating is concerned and the getting of extra horsepower and miles per gallon. One of those who doesn't agree with Ricky Rudd is this guy, Harry Gant.
Do you think everybody's playing straight with the fuel? Do you think everyone has the same size gas tank as the rules require?
Yeah, they all have the same, basically the same size tanks, because they measure them all every race, and they check them after the race and everything. It's, in our situation, it's a combination of a lot of different things that enable you to get better gas mileage than what we were getting last year, with the same type engines, which they've had for several years, engines, but it's a different combination. Sometimes the engines just don't take as much gas. Now, ours will vary a lot of different engines. Some will take a lot of gas, some don't take as much gas.
Well, if you want to nitpick, remember that Harry did say everybody's tank in the trunk is the same size. And as I said, it is really, Bob, a very complex issue and a very difficult thing to assess. There's a lot of room in a Grand National stock car. There's a lot of room to be legal, and there's a lot of room to be illegal.
Well, let's get some more opinions on this situation. What are your thoughts, Dick Berggren?
Well, one of the most important opinions certainly is that of NASCAR. Yesterday afternoon, Bill Gazaway went through some of the things that they've done here to try to make sure that everybody's running only 22 gallons. After the race was all done and over here at Pocono last time, for example, they pulled Cale Yarborough's whole fuel system apart. They removed the lines, they removed the gauges, removed the fuel cell. NASCAR seems quite convinced that, in fact, it is just a matter of improved fuel economy. They say guys have been working on this as far back as 5 and 10 years, and that now, finally, they are achieving success. NASCAR does not seem to think anyone here is cheating.
Well, they're the guys that ought to know, and if they say that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
And as another chapter of the story, remember earlier this year after racing Charlotte, I believe, Bobby Allison's car was pulled and drilled like Swiss cheese. And they did not find anything illegal when they inspected that car up close. And all the teams continue to try and even develop this further. And a couple of the teams feel as though they are on the brink of a major breakthrough. Gary Nelson, despite the fact that his team has been really one of the front runners in terms of the economy parade, they feel as though they may be on the verge of something that will give them even more mileage next year.
Gary tells us they're about a year away from a system that may give them as much as 20% more miles per gallon. Feel very slowly down in the air. Drivers have been given the signal that next time they'll go back to green. Here's the way they're running. Dale Earnhardt is running in first position in car number 3. Alongside him is Darrell Waltrip, but he is a lap down, or 4 laps down, make that. In second position, Joe Ruttman, car number 98. Running in third spot is Tommy Ellis, car number 4. In fourth spot, the number 47 of Ron Bouchard, who has run very well so far here today. And fifth, there is Ron Bouchard at number 47. And in fifth position is Harry Gant in this Gold Bandit.
And And just a couple of pit notes. Buddy Arrington, who's had a lot of minor nagging problems all week long as we look at Dale Earnhardt, the current points leader. Buddy Arrington had a lot of nagging problems. He's been in the pits more than the other drivers who fit into the yellows, as has Kyle Petty. Dale Earnhardt, the man who, I can't say that he came from nowhere. He was a successful short track late model stock car driver, but he was an instant success on the Grand National Trail. He's one of the few drivers to break into the inner circle of the winners and the top drivers in terms of popularity over the past 5 years.
Well, the fans right below us here in the grandstand are exercising their arms, waving to our cameras. Here comes the field down for resumption of the race. This is lap number 29. Running in 6th position is Bobby Allison. 7th is Bill Elliott. In 8th spot is Cale Yarborough. 9th is car number 12, Neil Bonnet. And 10th, number 66 of Bill Parsons. Into turn number 1.
School bus, yellow and white, number 98 of Joe Rutland, with 29 laps completed. The Levi Garrett 1984 Chevy is now right on the tailpipe of Dale Earnhardt. Joe Rutland along with Jeff Ladine and Bill Elliott was left among 3 of the group confident drivers coming into the race today. There have been a lot of crew and personnel changes in the Levi Garrett Chevy the past 2 years ago. Joe Rutland has given indications that maybe as satisfied with his setup and the arrangement as he has been since he joined the team. Joe Rutland, he's been on the verge of winning for about 3 seasons now. He's led numerous races on the Grand National Trail. He's had a lot of misfortune. Could today be his day?
His best finish ever in a Grand National race was second in 1981 at Riverside. Right now running in second position. In fact, the enthusiasm of the entire team is just about as high as we have ever seen it. Joe Rutland has great hope of winning this Like Cola final. Right behind Dale Earnhardt as they go down the straightaway. Earnhardt leading in car number 3. Right behind is Joe Rutland, and in third position is the number 12 now of Neil Bonnet.
Well, obviously, Joe Rutland, having never won a Grand National race, has not won here at Pocono, but neither has Dale Earnhardt. His best career finish here was a 4th back in 1980. Enough. His car owner, Richard Childress, was 5th here back in 1975. Dale Earnhardt, the man who leads the point standings without having won a race so far this year, and an interesting question as to whether or not it's possible to win the points championship without winning a main event. Well, we've gone more than halfway through the season, and if the season were to end now, I guess you'd have to say the answer is yes, but only time will tell.
That is Darrell Waltrip there, the third car in the line, and he is again 4 laps down. So in third spot is Ron Bouchard, and in fourth spot now is Harry Gant. There is Richard Childress, the owner of Dale Earnhardt's car, looking on as his driver leads with 31 laps completed in the Like Cola 500 from Pocono.
Bobby, Richard gave me one of my favorite quotes for the last 2 years. Again, Richard Childress, the owner of Dale Earnhardt's car. Sometime last year that his team was caught cheating. I don't remember what the specific infraction was. I asked Richard after it, were you guys really cheating? Well, I tell you what, we were just on the competitive edge, say that.
9th, 10th, and 11th position, Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte, Tim Richmond, Cale Yarborough also involved in the battle here. Here is the number 22 of Bobby Allison.
Let's also talk a little bit about the car right in the middle of the screen. That's Bill Elliott. Remember the early stages of the race? He and Harry Gant turned off like scared rabbits. Maybe say scared deer on this racetrack. We'll get back into that. Here's the pole sitter here, but he's not showing any strength right now, Bob. And I would suggest that it is more strategic than it is a loss of power or a loss of superiority. I'm not saying that we know for certain that Bill Elliott could be out front leading this race, but as strong as he has been all week long, as fast as he was in the first 10 laps of this race, and now look where he is. He's had a crash. It looked here to be Allison.
Allison into the wall, and another car spinning right behind him. Bobby had heavy contact with the wall just outside of turn number 2. The front end and the rear end of that car damaged severely.
Well, Bobby Allison, despite having a lot of tough luck in the car, is still little mobile. Can you believe that? But I'll tell you, with all of the body damage, Bob, I don't think that he can make it all the way around. Despite all of the misfortune that Bobby Allison, Gary Nelson, and crew have had this year, he was in 5th place in the point standings coming into this event. And he was only about 150 points behind. Certainly still in it for the Winston Cup Championship. But Bobby Allison has had misfortune again here. And the perseverant one, Bobby Allison continues to make that car move.
Here's how it happened. Bobby Allison, out of turn number 2, the car slides toward the outside and hits the wall hard.
Well, the way it went toward the outside wall, pointing with the nose, it did not appear as though he lost it. It did look like a tire going down. It wasn't a tricky part of the racetrack there. It gets very bumpy when you get way down on the low side there coming out of number 2. But you saw the car right after it went through the series of bumps. It didn't slide out. It didn't look like Bobby had lost control. The car pointed right toward the outside wall, started to go in headlong. He was able to get it turned around just a little bit so he didn't crash head-on into it, but it certainly did appear as though that a tire perhaps had equalized or something else going wrong with the suspension. You can see Bobby, he is very anxious to get back.
And there's one thing on Bobby Allison's mind, and that is getting the sheet metal ripped off so he can go back out in competition, and he is assisting with that process.
He sure is. You know, he's seen that car. He knows he's still got a chance. I tell you, it's going to be quite a sight if they do get that race car back out. It's going to be almost like a pro dragster, almost like a rail job. Is here come all the leaders for some more fuel, maybe some adjustments, certainly the change of tires, or if nothing else, pull the tires off. Let's look and see how they're wearing.
Dale Earnhardt among those in for a stop. They go to work on the left side of the car now, jack it up and change the tires. They fill it with fuel and they wipe the windshield off as Dale Earnhardt sits patiently in that Wrangler Jean Chevy. Now the car down off the jack. The crew pushes him away and Earnhardt is back out there. Also, Richard Petty is pulling out right behind Dale Earnhardt. So is Neil Bonnet. By the way, the other car involved in that Bobby Allison accident was Tommy Ellis, who was running in the top 10. He spun to the infield, but did keep going, and he is, as a matter of fact, right now in the pit area. That orange right side of your screen. They're putting new tires on it. Tommy Ellis in the pit. And there he goes, back out there. So no damage from the incident over there in the second turn. The accident that has damaged clearly Bobby Allison, but Tommy Ellis, no problem. He is back out there in competition. We are 34 laps in the Like Cola 500. Dale Earnhardt is the leader. NASCAR and ESPN present a track back.
Within the past year, there have been controversies involving the illegal use of tires, specifically with Terry Labonte and Richard Petty. See, the tires are manufactured for specific sides of the car. One set for the right side, one set for the left side. Now, there are 13 different compounds that Grand National crews contend with throughout the year. And they used to be identified by this little box right here on the tire. You see the 1737 series, usable for the left side only. Well, even Goodyear itself admitted that it may have been a little difficult to tell which was which, so now, well, the number's just a little bigger. There could be no opportunity for error there.
Richard Petty in car number 43 showing a little bit of damage to that car on the right side. We'll be back with more live and in stereo coverage from Pocono, Pennsylvania after these messages. Chris, how are you? Good to see you. Well,
you know, he's slumming it.
Visiting us again. All right. Yeah.
What's that like? Stand by. We'll come back. Stay right here.
Next live auto race after today will be on Sunday, August the 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the CART Provini Field 200 from Road America Raceway in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The biggest names in IndyCar racing will be there. Mears, Andretti, Neva, everybody, that is anybody in kart racing, for the Provini Field 200 on August the 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Bob, that should also be the debut of Arie Luyendyk, the Holland driver that we've been watching run Super Bs so well for the past 3 or 4 seasons. They've indicated to Arie that he's done well enough with the Provini Field team. He's going to get a shot at Indy cars in the home track. So, Arie, we hope you get it. Certainly hope you make the most of it. Fine young race driver.
Well, the fans once again relaxing here while the cleanup crews are in action out on the North Straightaway, cleaning up the crash involving Bobby Allison. Here is the rundown now. 36 laps completed. Ron Bouchard, the leader. Bill Elliott running second. Rusty Wallace third. Benny Parsons has moved up to fourth. And Jeff Bodine is fifth. So Benny apparently has taken care of his earlier handling problems and is all the way back up to fourth spot.
Ron Bouchard now leading the field around as they come off of the relatively flat turn number 3. Bouchard, who is looking for victory number 1 in 1984. He has won on the Grand National Trail, of course, in the past. Ron Bouchard used to get an annual pole position up at the Michigan International Speedway. Ronnie has not had his pole yet either in 1984, but they've had a very competitive season. Not only competitive in Grand National racing, but they've also had that late model soccer cooking. They've won a lot of money and won some races in the smaller cars also.
The absence of the flashing light on top of the pace car indicates that they will be going green the next time they go down. There's the field slowly behind the pace car, including Richard Benny and Joe Rudman. And the leader of the race continues to be Ron Bouchard, and Bill Elliott is in second place. Let's try to make contact once again with Benny Parsons.
Benny, this is Larry Newber up in the booth. Do you read us?
Yeah, Larry, I read you.
Benny, who looks strong? I know it's a little early to tell, and the caution flags have kind of disrupted everybody's rhythm, but what do you think?
Well, we're still playing with it, Larry, trying to figure out exactly what we have to do to run good. So far, we haven't figured it out.
Any way of telling what happened to Bobby? Were you close enough to see what occurred?
No, it really wasn't. It looked like he hit the wall pretty hard, but when I saw him, he was in the wall already.
Of the people that you've been running with, any way of telling if one of those guys looks like a real candidate for victory?
No, I think it looked like just by watching the race that Harry Gant, Bill Elliott, Cale Yarborough, about a half a dozen up on.
Things are just usual, aren't they, Benny Parsons?
Thing as usual.
Okay, Benny, we think you're going to go green this time around, so we'll talk to you next time, okay?
Just a routine Sunday afternoon drive for Benny Parsons. The crew begins to pick up the pace now. The field begins to pick up the pace. It is over in the North Straightaway. The pace car is picking up speed now. Once again, Darrell Waltrip is to the inside of the leader. He is trying to make up those laps that he lost when he had a problem very early in this race.
Bob Bouchard, Bodine, Bill Elliott, and Benny Parsons chose to not pit during that yellow flag. That's why they're up front. Now, will this be a disadvantage for them later on? Or are they anticipating more yellow flags? Only time will tell.
Green comes out once again. Harold Kinder, the official starter for the NASCAR Grand National Circuit, in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, waves the green. The drivers put that hammer down and head to turn number 1. Racing down this 100-foot wide straightaway here at Pocono. They somehow managed to get into single file as they go into turn number 1. Now out of turn number 1 onto the North Pond. Long Pond straightaway, Ron Bouchard, followed by Bill Elliott alongside Bouchard, and Darrell Waltrip now seems to be running very well.
You know, we never did find out exactly what had happened to Richard Petty. He had all that body damage, and as we're talking, by the way, for you upstate New York fans, Doug Everett is pulled back out of here. Petty had all the body damage, and I think what happened, Bob, was that if we look at Bobby Allison now, Bobby sitting, as you might expect, dejectedly in the car, but getting ready to get out and go to work right away. Petty was probably involved in one of those chain reaction deals where everybody breaks hard when there's problems out on the racetrack. Somebody slows more quickly than what Bobby, or rather what Richard expected.
Well, it's pretty obvious that Bobby Allison is okay. We'll try to get a word with him in just a minute. The way Bobby Allison jumped in the airplane last night and flew to a stock already.
Franklin County, Virginia, near Roanoke. Yeah, he didn't win that one either, by the way.
Well, he finished 8th.
Yeah, he finished in the top 10. He He's been experimenting, by the way, with a V6 engine on the short track. He won at Huntsville, Alabama. He also won at Barnesville, Illinois over Jim Trickle. So that's quite an accomplishment. Bobby Allison going on the short track.
The car leading on in the race is Ron Bouchard, but the first car in this line is Darrell Waltrip, who is several laps down. There's Ron Bouchard in the number 47 Raceville Farm Chevy. There is Richard Petty along with Neil Bonnet as they go side by side out of turn number 2. Also there running with those two is Terry Labonte in car number 44.
You know, Bob, there's been so much talk about aerodynamics the past 10 years really in Grand National racing. You mentioned earlier, aerodynamics not that big of a factor here at Pocono. It doesn't appear to be bothering Richard. We have seen some cars with aerodynamic problems, bodywork damage in recent races on broadcast the last couple of years on ESPN. Most notably, I'm thinking about Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Allison. And I'll tell you, I don't know. These Grand National stock car drivers have the ability to compensate for those problems. These guys run up near the front. You know, the aerodynamics down towards the cars is completely disrupted by a crash.
Watching 9th in 11th position here in 9th. And Bobby Allison, as we'll go back to the story in just a moment, Bobby Allison is down in the pit area working on the car and seeing if he can get it back into competition. Let's go to Dick Burton.
Bobby, first of all, how are you? I'm okay. It was pretty hard lit, but I'm all right.
What caused the accident, Bobby?
I don't know for sure. My guess right now is that I run over something and cut a tire.
Your view of the probability of getting back on the racetrack this afternoon?
Oh, it probably can happen. These guys can really work some amazing feats out here, and I think that, you know, I'll leave it on them to see if they can get it back out there for me.
Well, Gary Nelson and his crew pulled a miracle for Bobby Allison at Darlington when they got a well-bashed-up race car on the speedway. This one has a severely bent frame in the back end. The right front quarter is torn up. There was a brand-new body on this car for today's race, and half of it is off already. They are working on the front end and the rear end simultaneously. If they get this one, it's going to be one of the most torn-up race cars ever to return to the speedway.
Well, we've had a change of leader while you were talking to Bobby Allison, and another car spinning.
Jim Souther, Bob, one of the infrequent entrants on the Grand National Trail, and Souther going down the racetrack backwards, trying to keep the car straight. He's in a bad place on the track, and I'm not exactly sure what he's doing. Now he steers it down, he steers it out of the way, he gets down into the grass. This will probably bring out, however, another green caution flag. There it is.
That's our fourth caution of the